So hi everyone, once again on behalf of Orbit Techsol and Hewlett Packard Enterprise, I welcome all of you to this SASE webinar. And as a part of the hygiene, we have muted all the attendees. But once the webinar is about to end, we will have a Q&A session wherein people can raise their hand and they will be unmuted. So without further ado, let me welcome uh, our first speaker, who is Mr. Sudhir Menon. He leads the SASE business for Aruba across country and has been a part of the advisory and professional services at Hewlett Packard Enterprise as a senior advisor. He comes with a distinct industry experience of 21 years and is here to help us understand the concept of secure access service edge. So, Sudhir sir, you can take forward this session.
Hey, thanks, Uttara. Thanks. Thank you very much for organizing this session. I hope I am audible to uh, everyone on this call. So, today's agenda here being, while I think many of you here would have been already hearing about SASE from our side. Some of you may be using maybe some part of it, etc. So this we just thought that over a period of time we are changing, introducing more and more features. The concepts are evolving both from Aruba and industry per se. So that is where we thought of having this webinar along with Orbit as a refresher session to all of you to see how we are maturing, how well we are positioned there on that side as far as the unified SASE and what Aruba believes as the security first AI powered networking is. So today's agenda, before I can begin, being next couple of minutes, I will run through some slides which will get deep down into the need for SASE, why SASE has come up, where Aruba is positioned uniquely on that side, some key differentiating use cases for SASE, which is more industry specific, as I can say. But yes, obviously there are some advantages of having a unified platform for SASE, as the analysts have also been observing. So we'll throw some light on that side. And then going forward, I'll also share some distinguished case studies, what we have, along with our market positioning, etc. there. So that's the brief agenda for the next 30 to 45 minutes, as I can say, for this webinar. We wanted to have a small session on a demo or a lab, etc. But unfortunately, due to some outage at the global level, we are not able to access the lab. So maybe we can have, if the whole concept excites you, we have the entire team from Aruba and Orbit in this session. We have Shekhar Chauhan, who is our lead subject matter expert for SASE, and particularly on Aruba SASE, he has been practicing for more than 5 years, and an industry veteran with almost 20 years of experience there on that side. I'm sure many of you here would have already interacted with him on that side. And Shekhar is excited to take a lot of questions from you. There is a Q&A panel on which you can, or the chat room on which you can throw your questions at Shekhar, and Shekhar will be happy to take that. While I will run you through the slides and the content of the whole presentation. End of the session, we can have a more one-to-one interaction where possibly no, we can unmute you and we can have more interactive talking if there is a further talking needed on that side. So that's the whole agenda, what we are carrying for today. And as we progress, please feel free to share more questions, because your questions are also a learning for us, and obviously an eye-opener for you on where Aruba and Orbit put together stands today in the security world. While Orbit as a partner has been with HPE for as much as I know, for more than 15 plus years. I've been in HPE itself for almost 18 years now, and ever since I have known Orbit. and they have been our good partner there on that side, propagating many of our portfolios and products right from the server, storage, Green Lake, what HP believes, and also the Aruba networking gear, and now the SASE. So they are our strategic partners with whom we work day in, day out basis across the country, particularly in the West, for some key important cases there on that side. So we are all here, and we would like to hear from you and any questionnaire, etc., as we progress on that side. So quickly jumping to the presentation. I think the first thing to answer possibly is why SASE. I'm sure you would have heard from our other friends in the industry as well about SASE in various forums, various industry meets, etc. But primarily, if you ask me, SASE has been a concept which is from a pointed definition perspective, a practice or a framework which is aimed at improving the changing landscape, as I can say. The world is moving towards a hybrid way. Applications are hybrid. They are on-premise. They are on cloud. They are all over the place on MSP managed cloud. They are even on social media. Some of the apps, as I can say. Not to mention even the users there on that side who are there everywhere. Users are working from home, users are working from holiday rentals, users are working from office. So there was a need to create an underlay network and a security fabric which moves wherever the user and the application lies. So and that's the whole fundamental or the belief what the industry needed, and there is where the emergence of a new technology came up. So as we can see in this slide as well, digitalization, I think, has been, I'm sure all of you would be experiencing digitalization all over in your organization. The changing landscape from a traditional computerization where we believed only an SAP or a core banking was the single source of truth, to today where we stand, where we have multitudes of application supporting the core banking and SAP to generate more and more business for your organizations, etc. So I think that's the stepping stone for digitalization. And as and when digitalization started expanding and newer applications started coming, newer and newer landscape started evolving, the the traditional security practices like your traditional firewall, traditional IDS, IPS, which are more rigid and which are more confined towards your data center, started being seen as more of a bottleneck there on that side. Not to mention the traditional network again was seen as a bottleneck with your router, switches, etc., being confined to a particular landscape there. And there was a need to expand the network from a rigid, confined underlay, which is within the four walls of the organizations. And nowadays, people speak about a concept of no network, where the underlay network is seamless, regardless of wherever the user lies or the landscape lies, regardless of whatever the media is. To a no network concept, be it a broadband, be it 4G, 5G. People have started speaking about private 5G in the manufacturing landscape, etc. So there is where we are leading to. Not to mention when all of these things are happening where traditional security practices fail to scale beyond a certain landscape or possibly seen as a hindrance towards growth, unable to identify the newer age threats like your ransomware or the malware which has started interfering your organizations. NASSCOM, in fact, has last year reported almost 70% of the organizations are prone to ransomware attacks, and that's a data which is coming out of our own Indian land environment and landscape itself. So with all of these things happening there on that side, there is a need to create a framework or a landscape where wherever the application, wherever the user lies, there is a need to change or the network and the security or the connectivity, as I can say, secure connectivity, as I can say, to adapt to the changing landscape. Uh, and as we did that, as organizations started evolving, problem statements started coming. Problem statements like, can I leverage different medias? When banks started rolling out towards the rural part of India, connectivity was seen as a major challenge. Where banks started speaking about, will we be ever able to leverage medias like 4G, 5G, broadband? Not to mention the manufacturing organizations, which were where most of the factories, etc., were already remote and lagging behind for a reliable connectivity there. If I speak about the remote areas of India, like the Dunbar, and those areas where connectivity is in fact a challenge. So all the industry verticals started seeing as a challenge, and the problem statement came up where can we leverage other medias for a connectivity? Not to mention, I think if I speak about the Indian geography, cloud or AWS, particularly AWS per se, started coming somewhere around 2006, 2007. And ever since, from AWS to Azure to Google to a service provider managed cloud, the cloud adoption has just started exploding. Organizations have started more and more evaluating cloud there on that side, with more and more applications to reduce the total cost of ownership, to improve the uptime, and also to improve the time to provision or the time to go live, etc. So again, a fabric or a framework to support the cloud first organizations was again an emerging use case what was seen. Not to mention, as I said earlier as well, while all of these things were happening, to improve the security posture of a particular organization, security started being implemented towards the branch edge, towards the edge. That, in fact, that was the first move to improve the security at the edge by deploying your branch firewalls or the branch IDS IPS, or maybe something like a WAN optimization, etc. at the branch side. So, but nevertheless, while these things were happening, a wish list was, of course, can I reduce these number of appliances? Because one, of course, the management of these multitudes of appliances at a remote branch or a remote location. Second is, of course, the operating cost, as I can say, where the recursive AMC or the recursive RMAs, etc., were being expensive for organizations, which translated to, again, the third use case, as you can see on this slide, for replacing the multiple branch equipments which are there. IoT, this is again another sweet spot, particularly in the manufacturing and related verticals, where manufacturing communication vertical, where using IoT, monitoring the various devices, deriving various use cases like asset tracking or surveillance, etc., were emerging there on that side. And securing those IoT devices was, of course, a need of the hour, as I can say. So with all these multitudes of use cases coming up, as I mentioned earlier, there was a need to create a network and a security fabric where the network and security should not be a showstopper for adoption of these various use cases which are there, and in fact should act as a supportive mechanism, or to maintain the same security levels as an on-premise security, or a data center firewall, or a data center IDS IPS, or maybe a WAN optimization device or a router, etc. Whatever the performance and security that you could leverage within your organization, SASE had to provide or address each of these different use cases, what you can see, which are being presented on the screen. So with all of this happening, as I mentioned, the organization started evolving or exploring methods by which these use cases can be supported. I think if I talk about the early 2010 or something, we started leveraging, converging towards the data center, backhauling the traffic all the way up to the data center. And from the data center, the data center, in fact, acts as an exit point for this various cloud landscapes or the other applications what you wanted to access. Not to mention, even today, some of those organizations, wherever I have interacted, I have seen they backhaul all their O365 traffic, all their Salesforce traffic, right back to the data center across their private wireless backbone there on that side. Possibly because of a lack of solution there, or a lack of a proper approach towards the cloud access which exists. As an interim approach, as I can see, some of those organizations started adopting the cloud firewalls or the branch firewalls, etc. There on that side, or maybe some kind of a branch level security, as I can say, by deploying multitudes of different devices across those remote locations. This became a big security loophole there on that side, with multitudes of security equipment, the management becoming cumbersome, the administration overhead which came in, lack of proper centralized mechanism. With all those things coming up, this started becoming a challenge there on that side. There is where the evolution of SASE happened. In fact, I would say, as far as I remember, somewhere around 2015-16 is where the adoption of SASE began in the industry, where in fact, many of those OEMs, including us, we started coming out with our SD-WAN 1.0 answer there on that side with SASE. So SD-WAN 1.0 was the stepping stone of SASE. From there, we matured to the SD-WAN 2.0, and SSE came up. And now we define SASE as both SD-WAN and SSE put together is what we call it as the unified SASE approach, or the secure access service edge approach there. I think I saw somebody's hand coming up. Please raise your queries on the question answer bar, because I think we have a time constraint there as well. Shekhar is there, who's our subject matter expert, as I mentioned. We'll be happy to answer all your questions there on that side. And also, we can take it up towards the end of the presentation by unmuting you. So, moving forward, so in Aruba, as I mentioned in the beginning of the presentation, so our belief has always been security first, AI powered networking. So we always say security is something which is de facto required in any form of connectivity, any form. And as HPE, we have been always propagating across all our portfolios and platform paramount importance to security, be it on our server storage side, the networking side. We have been always propagating security as the first agenda there on that side. When I say AI-powered networking, is where we adapt, where the underlay or as I can say, our wired wireless backbone. We do a deep learning mechanism by gathering lot of data and adapting the network to the various landscape that you are accessing. So the underlay network should not be an hindrance while security is practiced. The underlay network should not be an hindrance to the performance, which is what we hear as a complaint from many of you, and even from some organizations. You have implemented security, but performance is slow or access is denied. These are the common complaints which we hear from the industry, and from the IT teams have been struggling to cope up there on that side. So an AI-powered networking to adapt to the changing environment, provide more and more visibility there, and as per the traffic demands, as per the application demand, mold the network to the connectivity is what the ask has been. So there is where, as Aruba, we have always believed in security first, AI powered networking, security being de facto an AI-powered networking approach to ensure that the performance is put in place while security is ensured there on that side. So, as a particular building block, if I can say, in terms of, in fact, I did not want to use this slide because putting a product or putting a solution is not an answer to all these frameworks and this thing. But nevertheless, typically what we have observed is without a pointed answer there on that side towards the security or towards what solution are you proposing, I think the conversation becomes half broken. So there is where our answer to the security first AI powered networking with we have predominantly three building blocks. The one is the Aruba networking SSE or the secure services edge, which is more towards the user side of it or the user based security, where with zero trust network access, the secure web gateway, and the cloud access security broker, we secure the users wherever the user lies, within office, outside office, work from home user. The same corporate policy, the same corporate restriction, and a secure access is ensured with SSE. The Edge Connect SD-WAN, as I mentioned, we no, with SD-WAN 1.0 and with SD-WAN 2.0 Edge Connect SD-WAN is something we have been there for a long time, almost 7 times. I think Gartner has rated as a leader there on that side on the SD-WAN front, and we have only bettered there from a solution standpoint from an SD-WAN per se. So that's the second building block. Not to mention the Aruba Networking Central. So in whichever presentation of Aruba that you see, you'll always find a mention of the Central there, where Central has been our AI-powered visibility engine, as I can say, where it's one of the industry's largest repository gathering data and using deep learning techniques, etc. We have been we have been enhancing the Central to provide a more performance-driven or connectivity to adapt the network to the changing landscape, to adapt the network as per the application prioritized, to adapt the network to the changing security threats there, etc. on that side. So you would be seeing on this slides terms like dynamic segmentation, continuous monitoring, AI ops, etc. So a layman definition is what I have called out, where with the largest repository in the industry today, from Central being there, we improve the performance of the network by using deep learning techniques and adapting the network to the changing landscape which is there. So SSE, SD-WAN, and Central. These are our three building blocks and what we call it as the zero trust foundation, along with the AI-powered networking, as we can call it. From here on, I'm moving towards some specifics. So I think overall, from a security first AI powered networking, as I say, we have three major building blocks where the AI powered networking improves the performance, and the security, of course, is a de facto thing, ensures that secure access, authenticated, authorized, restricted, and encrypted access to your environment is ensured. So particularly from the next couple of slides, which will be coming up, focuses on the SASE part. So SASE per se, as I mentioned in the beginning, more importantly, comprises of two building blocks. One is, of course, the SD-WAN, which is more the secure SD-WAN, as I can say, which is more towards the branch gateway or the branch level security part of it, where the secure SD-WAN is a smart gateway, as Shekhar and team in most cases call it, which ensures not only the security but also the performance side of it by steering the traffic across multiple, seamlessly steering the traffic across multiple landscapes, ensuring true per packet load balancing with our unique mechanisms there on that side. I'll further explain all those things as we move forward on our slides section. So, talking about security services edge or SSE, so we have four building blocks there on that side with SSE. Zero Trust Network Access, or ZTNA as it is called. This is our core foundation. So, to give you a background there on that side, the Aruba networking SSE is an acquisition what we did somewhere around 2.5 years ago. It was an Israeli company by the name Access Security. And the strengths of that company was always on zero trust. And that's the main purpose why we acquired that company, because zero trust network access was something which was aligned with our overall concept or foundation of edge to cloud, what HP has been also propagating there on that side. Even in our CEO's message or the worldwide messaging, whatever you have seen, you would be always having a mention of edge to cloud. And there is where ZTNA perfectly fits in, where ZTNA is seen as a natural replacement or a full replacement of your VPN or the non-persistent VDIs, virtual desktops, etc. there on that side. While also improving your overall security posture of your organization. The next building block here is the secure web gateway, or SWG, as we call it. So SWG is in fact for the outbound web access, or the URL filtering for the outbound access for the users. So with SWG, a roaming user, whoever is there, a user on premise, user at home, wherever the user lies, the same corporate policies for outbound web access in terms of what content he can access, what content he can upload, what content he can download, the time of day access, malware protection, all of those plethora of features what we have bundled along with SWIG is what we offer as part of the SWIG module within the SSE. The third building block is CASB, or Cloud Access Security Broker. While I think CASB is more of a dying concept with ZTNA coming up, but nevertheless, CASB is a module which provides access to your, restricted access to your SaaS applications, depending on the type of user, depending on the type of data, classifying the data along with DLP. So CASB along with DLP ensures protection of your cloud data, which is there. That's the third building block. The last but not the least is firewall as a service, which is more of a managed branch firewall, as I can say, providing not only protection for your north-south, but also for your east-west traffic there on that side. With each of these four technology modules being there within SSE, the one I would always call it that as the most important module is the DEM, or digital experience monitoring, which monitors each of your connection, analyzes each of your connection, provides reports, almost like a real-time reporting, as I can say, and also historic reports, and also provides recommendations there on that side on what connections there, etc. I have a further slide. Possibly I put a snippet there to show what the monitoring dashboard looks like there on that side. So each of these four technologies along with them is what comprises of the Aruba networking SSE. While as I mentioned, So this is a industry data from cybersecurity insiders, as I know. So ZTNA is the most popular. This has nothing to do with what HP has been talking, etc. So as I mentioned, ZTNA is the most important or the popular starting point for the SSE approach from today's technology per se. Swig Swig is something which Swig is almost become like a commodity. I think it has been there since early 2010s, where traditional proxy started dying out and the likes of McAfee, Symantec, etc., started coming out with the Swig approach there on that side, with cloud-based proxies, etc. There. So Swig almost is become like a commodity. CASB, as I mentioned, most of the CASB use cases can be fulfilled with ZTNA itself. So there is where CASB is again a dying concept, where ZTNA can fulfill most of the like the purpose of CASB. And not to mention the most prominent one, and there is the, and in fact that's the reason of, that's the analysis of findings of this survey which has been carried out. ZTNA is the most popular there on that side. So just to elaborate on what is ZTNA and why it is so important. So as I mentioned, ZTNA is seen as a replacement or a full replacement of your virtual private networks or the non-persistent VDIs which are there on your in your environment. VPNs, of course, came up with their own inadequacies. It was a good technology when it was founded, one of the best when for remote access. But as it progressed, as it advanced, and also with the evolving landscape, cybersecurity analysts started seeing bottlenecks or with VPNs there on that side. And hence the concept of ZTNA which has come up. Not to mention, with Aruba networking SSE, we have a single pane of glass for to configure all your. So if you see on the right hand side, if I can pull out the cursor or something like that. So if you see on the right hand side is the dashboard where you can see our policy management dashboard. This is a one single dashboard for all the technologies there within Aruba networking SSE. So be it ZTNA, be it Swig, be it CASB, there is one single dashboard where you can, with which you can administer all of those technologies, whatever I have called out there on that side. And that makes management less cumbersome there on that cumbersome. Agent and agentless deployment, the next dominant building block. So agent based, I'm sure many of you here would know about an agent based zero trust deployment, but agentless is something which we do very seamlessly, as I can say, but not only for the HTTP, HTTPS application, but also for some other type of applications, by providing an agentless access for your IoT devices, surveillance cameras, subcontractors, whoever is trying to access your ERP application or any of those invoicing application, etc. There, for an agentless access for your subcontractors is what we can deploy with the agentless ZTNA. Last but not the least is the least privilege access. I think this is the foundation of ZTNA, where the very meaning of zero trust becomes no access, and then selectively enable access for each of your users or connections, etc. there on that side. So least privilege access, depending upon your identity, is what can be enabled with ZTNA actually. Uh, Sorry. Yeah. So that's more about why ZTNA has been important, why ZTNA is gaining. As I mentioned, many of those technologies which are there in SSE like CASB, etc., can be overshadowed with a ZTNA solution itself. Many of the use cases, in fact, can be addressed with ZTNA itself. So this slide, in fact, I have purposely put to show you why. I think you would have heard about many SSE players, or the SSE 1.0 players like the Netscopes or the Zscalers, etc. There on that side. I think this is a very differentiating slide where we call it as the next generation SSE. Why next generation SSE? We are a born in cloud company as far as SSE is concerned. So, and because we are born in cloud, we have leveraged some of those cloud native technologies to enhance the performance of SSE while also providing security. So I think, like I said, security is a de facto thing, but we also enhance the performance of SSE there on that side. How? Is what this slide calls out. So first thing first, as I called out earlier, a unified platform for each of those technology. You need one single platform, no discrete platforms, one single UI, one single platform for each of those technologies, as I can say. An edge to cloud or edge to pop approach. So this is where I say we are using the cloud native technology. So typically, the a typical SSE, the traditional players have a POP based access wherein they have 2 or 4 POPs across the country, and everybody has to get connected to the POP, and whatever the latency to the POP is what you have to bear with it. And many of those SSE users today, while they have adopted SSE, always complain about latency, etc. there on that side. But with an edge to pop approach, we have almost 33 plus edge locations across the country. Currently, we have 2 pop locations, but I think somewhere next year we have planned for 2 more pops, which make it 4 pop. But like I mentioned, pop becomes less relevant in our case because a user sitting in a remote area, like let's say Jammu Kashmir, or maybe Bhuj or some place like that, gets connected to the local edge. 33 plus edge location means almost every state has an edge location. And from the edge, we use the global WAN accelerator service to enhance the SSE performance towards the POP approach. So using WAN accelerator, we ensure that the performance is guaranteed towards the POP, while the local user or a remote user does not need to backhaul all the way up to the POP location there on that side. So that's a big differentiating factor for us, where with an edge to pop approach, we enhance the performance of the SSE while security is guaranteed with each of those technologies, whatever I have called out earlier. Secure access for all resources, not only the HTTP and HTTPS application, but also for your SaaS application and all other resources like your RDP, SSH, maybe voice traffic, etc. there on that side is what we can have within our SSE platform. And not to mention, while we do that, we are also an open and integratable platform where our SSE, you can integrate with any of your existing security ecosystems like your XDRs or your SIM, whatever is there in your environment, you can integrate with that to provide a more, because I think security is one place where integration is very necessary to improve the security posture of your organization or the threat, or to have a seamless threat remediation there on that side. So integration is an important point to exchange data, exchange the threat data, exchange the logs with various ecosystem solutions there to provide a robust security for your landscape. So there is where with an open platform, you can integrate with your existing solutions and have a good solution there. Moving forward, so I think I've been emphasizing a lot on ZTNA, ZTNA, ZTNA. So I think this is a data, and at the beginning of the slide, I mentioned why VPN has been seen as a threat there. So this is the VPN risk report, an extract out of which I have pulled out, where almost 71% of the organizations are concerned, or the cybersecurity CISOs or the security analysts within the organizations are concerned about the VPNs, possibly a misconfiguration of a VPN, or possibly a snoop attack when the user becomes part of your environment is seen as a concern. 65% of the organizations are considering alternatives to VPN. I think one of the interim approaches were to use VDIs, but nevertheless, VDIs came up with their own flaws of heavy infrastructure, heavy investment, etc. There on that side actually. So there is where VPN was seen as a typical bottleneck. As you can see from this slide, VPNs expose your IP addresses. So once the user gets connected with VPN, they gain an IP address from your environment, whatever your environment, wherever your VPN concentrated is hosted, be it your core LAN, DMZ, MZ, wherever the VPN concentrated is hosted. And once they get an IP, there is a likeliness that a potential attacker can snoop around in your environment there on that side. Not to mention, the VPNs give overprivileged access, because there is a likely chance of misconfiguration of VPN, or possibly due to a misconfigured rule, etc. A cyber criminal can do a lot of damage or snooping around in your environment there. And last but not the least is the performance issues which are created by VPN. Your reachability to the VPN. I think COVID was an eye opener there, where many of the organizations lacked access to the VPN concentrators because of whatsoever reasons, I can say, because of which remote connectivity to their environments could not be established. So these are the potential challenges which exist with VPN, because of which, with the ZTNA approach, or what we call it as the Aruba networking ZTNA approach, network is invisible. So it's an inside out connection that you establish with ZTNA, and the SSE platform acts as a broker between your landscape and the user by managing all your policy, ensuring an encrypted connection, etc. there, and of course being of global scale. So access, accessibility, reachability, whatever I called out, the 33 plus edge locations, etc., doesn't become a challenge with Aruba SSE. Not to mention, remote users does not gain or become part of your network. It's only the applications they access. So typically, there is a connector which is hosted out of your environment, on which the applications are published using that particular port ID, etc. And policies are governed basis the application access port there on that side. So it's only the application access and not the network access. And last but not the least is the granular and the least privilege access, what you can exercise with the SSE policy of who can download, who can upload, who has what restriction. All those permutation combination can be exercised using ZTNA. So ZTNA becomes a more modernized way or modernized approach for connectivity to your landscape. Not to mention the reliability part, because it is of global scale, because it is hosted on a robust cloud platform. It ensures almost like a 6 nines or a 7 nines kind of an uptime. And the performance part with an edge cloud based approach, which we can guarantee. So it's almost like a 6 9 uptime plus performance plus security, all put together is what we call it as the Aruba networking ZTNA based SSE with ZTNA based approach there. To talk about, I think this speaks more about our architecture. I already mentioned about the edge cloud approach, or the edge pop approach, where the remote user who is there gets connected to the local edge. From the local edge, the performance is enhanced towards the POP using global WAN accelerator service. And then we have our tier one major cloud providers, where our SOC is hosted, continuously analyzing the data, ingesting signatures, and making the platform more and more robust there on that side. Talking about our India presence, I think I already mentioned we have almost 33 plus edge locations across India, almost one in every state, and the edge locations are growing there on that side. Currently we have two local POPs, but like I said, POP becomes less relevant because of the edge POP architecture that we follow. We have some two more POPs which are planned sometime next year as we grow there on that side with more and more connections, more and more users who are getting connected on our platform. And then we have the main clusters where our SOC is hosted for analyzing the data, etc. there on that side. Uh, Going forward, so as I mentioned, we almost guarantee like a 100% uptime on our platform, and there is a reason behind. You can have more deeper conversation with our SME, Shekhar or Aman or whoever you're connected with, where we use techniques like smart routing to seamlessly. So this is a generic slide where you can see icon of a Oracle Cloud, GCP, Azure, etc. there. Sorry, let me move back. GCP, etc. So globally, we are a multi-cloud platform, but I think in India we are on a uni-cloud platform on AWS itself. But yes, globally we are on multi-cloud. But nevertheless, in case of an outage of a particular edge location across these various landscape, a seamless switchover without any session disruption to the next least latency path occurs. And as I mentioned, without any session disruption happens. And this switchover is of global scale. So least latency, second least latency, third least latency, and it keeps on going as you define the policy and the parameters within the SSE platform for the number of switchovers which has to happen. So this way we can guarantee almost like 100% uptime of our platform with SSE there on that. And while, like I mentioned, it's a least latency connection. So always the least latency path is first chosen over the more least latency path. So the next two technology which I already called out is the Swig and the CASB. I think I'll not spend much time on this slide where we have three layer of protection on our Swig, DNS filtering, URL filtering, content inspection, etc. Along with a data leakage prevention approach with Swig. And it's an inline CASB platform where the CASB solution is completely inline to provide restriction to your SaaS application along with the DLP where you can protect your sensitive data there on that side. So Swig and CASB are the next two technologies along with ZTNA. ZTNA becoming the most prominent one. As I mentioned, it's an Israeli company, and the defense is the biggest strength of all the Israeli technologies what we have adopted today. Swig and CASB are the next technologies for defense, which are there for outbound web filter and your SaaS applications there. Overall, from an architecture per se, if you see, we can have more deeper conversations there, maybe one-to-one discussion if the whole concept, etc., excites you, or maybe a POC or a demo, whatever you permit us to do. You can engage with Orbit or any of our field specialists, whoever you are in touch with for a discussion there on that side as regards to SSE. But from an architecture per se, wherever the employee, subcontractor, IoT device, whatever lies, the platform sits in line, SSE platform sits in line to provide each of those technologies like zero trust network access, Swig or CASB services, etc. there. And while you do that, we have an inbuilt IDP, but we can also integrate with our existing ADFS or Okta or whatever the identity access management solution that you have in your environment there. So this is the overall architecture how we do. And like I mentioned, with an edge pop approach, with an inline architecture itself, you can get a enhanced performance with the global WAN accelerator service, etc. So security being de facto, a performance-driven approach is what we practice with Aruba networking SSE. So this is a snippet of the overall dashboard. I mentioned in the beginning, I have a further slide coming up there. So if you see, this is so typically at the back end, we have a lot of deep learning workflows, etc. there happening on that side, where not only the reactive logs, which you can see on the left hand side. Let me pull out the pointer. So the left hand side, if you see, is the reactive logs, what has been permitted. Pardon me, the slide may not be so clearly visible because of presentation, the limitations of PowerPoint, I can say. But the left-hand side slide talks about what is allowed, what is denied, etc. And the right-hand side slide is where recommendations have come in proactively from the SSE platform, where you have to take corrective action and possibly seen as a high risk for your environment, or a low risk, or a medium risk, etc. So with risk rating, the appropriate action which has to be taken is what we can have with a single dashboard. This is the biggest advantage of having a single platform, or a single unified platform for SSE, as against those discrete silos of technologies what we have in some of those players out there in the market. So the next technology, I think we are running short of time. I can see Uttara's messages as well. But anyways, I'll quickly talk about the SD-WAN part of it, which is our flagship product. Almost 7 times the Gartner has later rated as a leader there on that side for the Edge Connect SD-WAN. And why we have been a leader in that space is we have been not only practicing security with all the NGFW features like your stateful firewall, IDS, IPS, DDoS protection, etc., but a performance-driven approach to enhance the performance of your application, or your SaaS traffic, or your DCDR application in terms of deduplication, compression, TCP/ID. DCDR application is in fact a very sweet spot where we are almost like no competitor there in that space, with a kind of compression levels. Almost 82% compression is what we have for the replication traffic for a typical database like Oracle, which we have seen amongst our customers there on that side. So that's another use case. So because of all these different features along with the traditional security features, so the main purpose why SD-WAN typically came into place was to overcome the shortcomings of router, like typically the performance features like your per packet load balancing, etc. But I think the industry has been quite misguided by the security players by enforcing more and more security features than the performance features on an SD-WAN fabric. Here is where we clearly differentiate by not only giving security, but also having a performance-driven approach for SD-WAN. In fact, if you talk to Shekhar or Aman or one of our SMEs, we can have almost 6 overlay fabrics defining various criteria like your QoS parameters, or the circuit which you can use, or the security policies which you can have with the SSE. So a true class SD-WAN along with the security is what we have, not to mention all your traditional routing like your BGP, OSPF, etc., what we can replace there with Edge Connect SD-WAN. So talking about the security feature, I think I will not go into each of those feature by feature, but what I wanted to call out with this slide here is this is not just us calling out the security features, but it's been certified by an independent body, ICSA Labs, for the effectiveness of the security features what we have on our platform. Out of this, all the security features come by default on our platform except the IDS IPS, which is an add-on license, what we call it as the advanced security license, etc., which on a case by case, because typically in a private wire environment, or a enterprise access, you don't need an IDS, IPS. Only in a local breakout scenario, etc., is where when you need an IDS IPS or an advanced security license there. So that is the reason we have kept it as an add-on license where we can discuss with you, we can formulate the solution, and then as a follow-on, when we derive the BOM, we can add or delete the license there on that side. Not to mention the WAN optimization, what we call it as the boost. Some of you would have heard from our specialist where with boost you can accelerate the performance of your application or the database traffic. So be it like a file upload or be it like a sensitive application access which is needed, which is voluminous in nature, and possibly your current bandwidth etc is ever increasing or possibly choppy there on that side, is where using Boost you can enhance the application performance or enhance the database replication to meet the required RTO, RPO, etc. there. So Boost and IDS IPS are typically add-on licenses, not required in every environment. But rest of all the features, whatever we have called out here, are by default enabled on our platform as part of the standard package or the standard subscription that we have there. Uh, I'll not spend much time on this slide. I think I have been already emphasizing there a lot on the performance side of it. So like how we enhance the performance using path conditioning techniques, WAN optimization, real-time application performance acceleration by real-time applications like your voice, video, enhancing the performance of your voice, video over more latency media or less reliable media like a broadband or 4G, 5G is what we can have. So we have unique approaches like the first packet IQ, etc., where we classify the first packet itself at the entry or exit for SD-WAN to uniquely differentiate the application traffic which requires priority treatment to enhance the application performance. We can have more deeper discussions, as I mentioned, or a field trial, POC, etc. On if the whole concept excites you. So please engage with Orbit or any of our specialists, whoever you are in touch with there, if you are interested to take this solution forward for your organization. So overall, from an architecture perspective, or what we call it as the unified SASE, with EdgeConnect SD-WAN being the smart gateway, as I mentioned in the beginning, along with integration with an SSE, the Aruba Networking SSE, is what we call it as the unified SASE platform. There is another concept to protect your existing investments, which is the integrated SASE approach. So for many of you who have already embarked on a SASE journey with some other solutions on the SSE side, etc., we can also have an integrated SASE, but always as the security analysts and even the industry observers have recommended, a unified SASE is always recommended over an integrated SASE approach. On that side, so a tight integration between SSE and SD-WAN is what is needed to improve the overall security posture, to improve the performance of your application, etc. there on that side. Actually. So I think I'm coming to more or less the end of my presentation. So this is what I call it as the integrated SASE approach, where we can integrate with your existing solutions to protect your existing investments, protect your existing solutions with an integrated SASE approach there. So from a market positioning perspective, I think I already mentioned we have been there. So almost 7 times Gartner has seen us as a leader in the SD-WAN space. Gartner calls us as the leader, a player which delivers the most enhanced customer experience when it comes to the SASE platform. SASE includes both SD-WAN and SSE. This is because, as I mentioned, it is not just security, but also the performance that we enhance with our SSE, with an edge cloud approach, etc. And also the cloud, the application steering, the application performance enhancement, which we have on SD-WAN. So both SD-WAN and SSE to give an improved customer experience compared to many of those competitors that is which are there, many of those players which are there. That is the reason Gartner sees us as a promising player. IDC calls us as a leader. I think IDC MarketScape for 2024 is still not out, or possibly not. They are not coming out. Maybe for 2024. The GigaOM quadrant, we are rated as a leader in the GigaOM quadrant for SASE in 2024. And for both SD-WAN and SASE both put together. So that's the reason, because of our promising technology, because we have been ever evolving, introducing new and new features, rather than having a point product or a point solution to address your business needs, address your business use cases, etc. That is the reason these various industry observers has been seeing us as a very prominent platform, and hence these ratings are quite evident there actually. So talking about use cases, I think use cases are co-created. Uh, I have just put some of those identified or prominent use cases there on that side, with modernize, optimize, and protect. Modernize, of course, being modernizing your branch connectivity by improving the branch uptime, by evaluating and adopting various other medias like a 4G, 5G, or your broadband, or maybe any other form of media there to improve the overall performance. And also to improve the uptime, not to mention the uptime when you do that. Retiring the legacy branch equipments with one single edge connect solution, multitudes of your branch solution like your firewall, WAN optimization, telemetry, etc., can be replaced with a single edge connect appliance there. And not to mention, with a hybrid ZTNA, both agent and agentless, you can protect both your employees and subcontractors, or secure the connections of both your employees and subcontractors there on that side. Optimize, of course, leads to how we can optimize your application performance on the SD-WAN fabric with whatever approaches of path conditioning, etc., that I mentioned. Along with Boost can boost the performance of your replication traffic or your application traffic by providing compression and TCP acceleration for those traffic, and not to mention the multi-cloud approach. So for most of your organizations who have embarked on a cloud journey by adopting any AWS or Azure, and your direct connect charges or the cross connect charges are seen as a bottleneck, please use Edge Connect there to, and along with Boost, to enhance, to reduce your bandwidth and enhance the performance of your application. We have a form factor in the AWS marketplace or the Azure marketplace as well, where we can spin up the Edge Connect along with the appropriate bandwidth licenses or Boost licenses, whatever that are needed, to provide a seamless and robust connectivity there. Protect, of course, I will not mention. I think I have been calling that out throughout my presentation. Protecting your environment, protecting your IoT devices, protecting the outbound internet access with malware protection, etc., there on that side, and also to protect your SaaS application. So these are the three main towers or use cases. As use cases evolve, and possibly every organization has its own unique use cases. But yes, for the concises and for some of those prominent use cases is what is being shown here, there on that side. So overall, as Aruba and what we call it as the ESP framework, with ClearPass, with Aruba Networking Central, with SSE, and with Secure SD-WAN, we cover the entire Zero Trust Foundation approach, enforcement, policy application, dynamic segmentation. All of that is what forms part of our Zero Trust Foundation framework. And we are evolving. We are almost, if you talk to Shekhar or Aman, etc., there on that side, almost every quarter we are coming up with newer and newer features, newer and newer functionalities to address your pain areas or business requirements. Talking about some of those, so in India today, we have almost 100 plus customers on our SASE. Some of those prominent use cases or case studies is what I have picked up. So a leading private sector bank where they have migrated almost 2000 plus branches on SD-WAN, one of the leading banks in India. Berger Pains is a public case study. Berger Pains and is a public case study which is there on our website, where Berger Pains has adopted globally our SD-WAN solution, and not to mention they have also gone ahead with our SSE with a unified SASE story for across all their branches there on that site actually. Not to mention the WAN optimization, which has been an exciting story, possibly there since almost 2 decades, with TCP acceleration, compression, etc., to meet your required RPO. So we have a good case study with a leading financial organization where we are achieving almost 82% reduction of the Oracle traffic to meet the required RPO. So these are the three prominent case studies what I wanted to call out as part of this presentation. So I think I have come to more or less the end of my session. As I mentioned, if this whole concept excites you, please engage with Orbit or any of our specialists. Orbit has been our good partner. They have the required technical resources to engage with you, to discuss the various use cases, or possibly participate with you on a POC field trial. You can also engage with our specialists there on that side, or Shaker, or you can reach out to me alternatively for any of those pain areas that you want to address. We can have a demo scheduled. We can do a value assessment for a TCO analysis on how by adopting Aruba networking SASE, you can achieve tangible financial benefits. So we can actually put the math in place, taking some inputs from you like your bandwidth cost or your existing security equipment cost, etc., and how by replacing that with SASE you can achieve tangible. So this is typically for the finance team where they can see tangible financial benefits, where we can do a value assessment there on that side. So all of these are services which are there, be it a demo, be it a POC, be it a value assessment, to enable your organization to embark on a SASE journey on that side. So that brings to the end of my presentation. Sorry, I have been dragging this a lot to just make my point and possibly, in this limited time period, explain to you how SASE has been helpful, and how you can adopt that for your organization there. Thank you, everyone. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Sudhir sir. And if there are any questions, I request the attendees to raise their hand. We will wait for a couple of minutes and then we will close this session. Okay, I can see that there is no hand raised. Thank you so much, everyone, for attending. And please feel free to reach out to your Orbit sales account managers for any queries or demo requirement that you might have, and we are there to help you. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Uttara. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
Orbit team. Thanks,
Thank
Shekhar.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye.